movies on the last 5 comments. But there's only one comment on the Free Your Mind and Mentality edition 39 about Ariel, Castro. The four women, Michelle Knight, Amanda Berry, Gina De Jesus, and the kid. So I'm looking at this comment. You're absolutely right. Charles Ramsey stated that he told his friend that something wasn't right about the house, and his friend told him to leave it alone. People are in their own bubble. Yes, I agree with that. And then it says he had the telling signs of a sociopath and/ or antisocial. Well, some of the nicest people don't want to deal with people. I mean, take me as a prime example. I don't like people. Generally speaking, I think people, rightfully so. When you've seen so much faults, when you observe things and you look at people for the way they are, not kind of have this stoic, nonchalant attitude about people, and you're an emotional person and you're a thoughtful person, you're gonna look at people critically. I don't know about anybody else, but I look at people very critical, and I think that's the standard. I think a lot of people's standards are substandard. I think the standard is minimum. You have to look at people for their faults, and credit's due for people that do good. And it says with a few social tests. I mean, that's just an offensive. It's just like a do-gooder comment. It sounds like you got your nose stuck up in the air. I mean, it's what it sounds like. And it says with a few social tests, people he interacted with could have figured out that he was up to something within about 3 months of observation. No, everybody's different. You can't put a standard. This is the problem with the so-called psychologists, psychiatrists. They put a standard blanket over everybody, and because certain people don't fit into that mold, they're okay. Let's make up a disease, or there's something wrong with them. No, I don't agree with this. NiecyQ wrote this. I agree with a lot of what this person says, but some of this isn't, and there's no picture on this profile, meaning I don't know who I'm talking to, if it's a man or a woman. When you're putting out information, you want to disclose who you are, because the other person wants to know how to address you. You know what I mean? You can't have total anonymity if you want to call something out or point something out. You got to also provide your identity. This isn't. I don't take this as the internet, because when I talk to people, you could be talking to them at a supermarket or at a bank or whatever. I've always said this. You can be talking to them at Comic-Con, the comic book convention, sci-fi convention. You could be talking to them anywhere, and I talk to people as if I was talking to them, not through the internet, but as real people. Because I don't do that internet game. I don't do that, well, let's just be total haters because we're on the internet and we're typing on the computer and we're 1,585 miles away from that person, and we can just feel like we can say whatever the heck we want. I don't play the internet game. I'm internet savvy. I've had my hand on trying websites, and I have real email accounts, and I just don't like it. But I'm getting sidetracked. This was responding to no awareness, empathy, ignorance, reasons why people held prisoner by Ariel, Castro for 10 years. Free Your Mind Mentality edition 37. I think I said 39, but this is 37 as a response movie. So the other comment Niecy wrote was on George Zimmerman. It matters who started the drama first. Intellectual, thoughtful analysis, number 39. You know, it says it basically comes down to fight or flight. If you sense threat, you will be either flee or stand your ground. GZ usually use bully tactics, excessive monitoring. I hate bullying. I believe he thought that Tim was a tall, scrawny kid that he could talk down if he needed to. Unfortunately, he didn't listen when 911 told him not to pursue. Got a beat down, and then at the point shot in self-defense. None of the chain of events would have occurred if you would just have let the police. I agree with this. Let the police approach TM instead. Okay. I'm gonna cut this short, and I'm gonna make another one. Okay, so the problem, I'm looking for this comment again. The antisocial behavior or whatever is just a label. It doesn't make somebody wrong because they don't like people. If somebody punch you in the mouth, you're not going to like that person. So that could make you antisocial or a sociopath. But there's really nothing wrong with not liking people. You can be the nicest person in the world. I'm the example. You can be the nicest person in the world and just not like people because you don't appreciate their conduct. Is one aspect. Or somebody could have done something really wrong to them. See, when you're an emotional person, like I said, you could call it oversensitive. I just call it realizing and aware of how people really are. Because you see, I also want to point out, you see these guys on YouTube try to make an entertainment show, and just like when they talk about stuff, they get all excited, and they get all excited, and they get all you know, like it's some sort of freaking sideshow, you know, to make their point. They start yelling. You know what I'm trying to say is these guys get really all worked up and try to overstate their enthusiasm just to get viewers to like their movie. You know what I'm saying? I don't do that. I'm just reality is what it is. What it is what I'm trying to say. I also want to point out NiecyQ's comment about with a few social tests, people he interacted with could have figured out that he was up to something within about 3 months of observation. You know, ignorance, it seems like kind of a pretentious, like kind of a, you know, I'm not here to try to insult people or make enemies out of people, but when I see a comment that sounds kind of snotty, of like, well, I'm better than you because I'm the expert at psychiatry or social interaction, that, you know, and you look at how people are portrayed. Ariel Castro as just an average neighbor next door, average guy that plays in a band and talks about salsa music and all this other stuff. You know, you can't really, that's like an image. Nobody noticed for 10 years that anything was wrong with that guy, so I don't think that's correct. Observation based on a false standard of so-called antisocial behavior. They're talking about Urban Dictionary, someone who doesn't feel comfortable around people, that they would rather do something more productive with their time rather than hanging out with people they don't really like. That's kind of a general statement. Sociopath, the person with antisocial personality disorder, probably the most widely recognized personality disorder. Sociopath is often well liked because of their charm and high charisma, but they don't usually care about other people. Well, I could be considered antisocial, but I do care about people. This is off. This is a blanket statement trying to fit a certain mold, like 100% mold of a society, of a person into a mold. This is why you don't do molds. Everybody's different. They think mainly of themselves and often blame others for the things that they do. They have a complete disregard for rules and lie constantly. Well, I don't lie. I'm one of the most honest people there is. I'm a nonconformist. I don't care about rules. I don't want to entirely use myself as an example because, the finger pointers could always say, well, look at that guy. He's a nut job, or he's crazy. These little stupid little labels people put on people. These a nut job. I hate that word. It's like a fancy schmancy word for, crazy or something. It's just, there's no other examples I can think of offhand but to use my own. And myself is one of the best examples there is. They have a complete disregard for rules, lie. They seldom feel guilt or learn from punishments. I feel, as an emotional person, I feel a lot of guilt. I have movies on here, old movies, that I say, who doesn't like society the way it is? I've been done wrong by a lot of people, and I recognize it as what it is. I mean, you have to take it in stride. People, sometimes you just have to laugh and just laugh about it because it's so disgusting, But you gotta the people that take things in stride and they say, well, don't let that affect you or ignore them. Well, I don't ignore people. I set the record straight, then I ignore them because I believe setting the record straight is very important. If you're gonna call somebody out, you better be correct. If you're going to act snotty about it and you're going to call somebody out, at least be correct. If you're going to act snotty about it, you're going to get an ounce of respect, for me or somebody else. If you're going to act arrogant and snotty and pretentious and narcissistic and smug about it and you're incorrect, that makes you look really stupid. I've said this before many times. This Urban Dictionary based on somebody's biased version of the definition, because I couldn't find the real definition. Though some sociopaths have become murderers, most reveal their sociopath through less deadly and sensational means. Sociopath 2, sociopaths mainly identified by there being something very wrong with the person's conscience. They either have a conscience with holes in it, they don't seem to have one or all three. They are able to completely neutralize their sense of consciousness into the perspective that they aren't doing anything wrong. One thing for sure is sociopaths only care about themselves. Well, I care about people. Why would I would making this devoted my life to the pursuit of truth, justice. So yeah, I do care. So this is wrong. Everybody and everything outside of them are twisted in their mind into mere objects and to be used to achieve personal fulfillment. It's getting a little esoteric, and it's not actually that clear. The sociopath often believes that they are doing nothing wrong or doing something greatly good due to egocentricity and grandiose sense of self-worth. I mean, a lot of people feel self-worth, and that's an elitist. They have this narcissistic, self-important attitude about themselves. You can apply that statement to a lot of different people. They will cold-bloodedly take what they want and do as it please at any expense of anyone in their lives. I mean, it's like jumbling up oranges, bananas, apples, plums, avocados all together, trying to make a definition of somebody. I mean, this is just ignorant. I could go on. They will cold-bloodedly take what they want and do as they please at the expense of anyone in their lives. Predators to satisfy their lust of power and control their superficial charm. I'm definitely not superficial. What else? FreeDictionary.com. Sociopath, person as a psychopath whose behavior is antisocial and lacks a sense of moral responsibility or social conscience. I'm probably the most moral person you're ever gonna find. this is in relation to what I said earlier, that I don't care for people the way their conduct is, and I've been done wrong by so many people. But I'm very moral. This whole series of movies on this Free Your Mind and Mentality show it's just evidence right there that, you know, you don't have to care for people, but you can be real moral. You know? The ignorance of people. This is dangerous because people put people in powers in a position that have the capacity to like lock people up, you know, because their standard is flawed, and they judge somebody to be so-called antisocial, and then this person has, whether it's a psychiatrist, psychologist, or whatever, a doctor, can use their ignorance to do flawed morality. You know what I'm trying to say. What I'm attempting to say. They're hurting people by locking them up or oppressing them. You know, with their power, with their ignorance, they're abusing their power. Is what I'm trying to say. You know what I mean?